Hi there, traders. This is Brad Gilbert with the Daily Market Insight for Friday, March the 25th. All right, now let's just have a look where that North American session finished. The US equities, pretty nice bounce again. I think it's still a dead duck bounce. It's not really, it's a slight correction, but still it's in the balance, right? If anything else, crypto's still charging to the top side. There's some interesting setups there. It looks like on the hourlies, they're all moving up, like recovering, but on the dailies, they're just coming back to where they've sort of been. No uniform price action here across the majors, right? The US equity futures not doing anything just at the moment. And commodities, I think we might have even seen a little bit of a turn here, right? There's a bit of news out that, as everyone sort of pressures Russia around, sanctions and everything else, they're getting oil supplies organized. Oil has been up there, but it's just sort of slightly come back. There's a very interesting setup on the commodities. Dollar yen is obviously they don't have any oil, so the higher oil goes, the lower the yen goes, or higher dollar yen goes. So just keep an eye on that as well. But it's an interesting place coming up on the oil trade, right? It's because there's a few things happening, and it looks like it may have done its run. We're starting to see it turn a little bit technically anyway. Now, on these charts, I've actually changed them to the hourly, so don't look about the dailies. Just to give you a bit more look at the price action and where those support and resistance levels are. As I've been saying, the dollar index has just been trading sideways. Pretty much the same for euro as well. Now, I haven't drawn a trend line from here to here. All you're doing is focusing on that current low. So sideways, still, I think, a downward bias for euro. The volatility index is getting back to its normal sort of levels, around 20. Now, here's oil. It's sort of topped out up above 115. It's now 111.87. I'll give you a look at a couple of charts here because it's starting to break down a little bit. And as you can see, the equity markets, NASDAQ, S&P, have sort of recovered a fair bit of gain from the big knee jerk that we've seen over the last few weeks. And Bitcoin, as you can see, going up, but I'll give you a look at that full picture. And gold, out of all the commodities, it looks like it's still on a steady path upwards as opposed to correcting. Now, let me just whip you through the charts here, give you a look at some of these levels. On the Forex aspect, I've still got these in the dailies. As you can see, not much action there. Like, it's been a pretty boring week for most of these. Dollar Swiss, dollar index. Dollar yen has started to run, right, with that move in oil. I wouldn't say dollar CAD's started to run, but it's leaning to the downside as oil remains above $100. It's still probably going to go down a little bit, you'd think. Here's the euro in between a couple of support and resistance levels. We did see sterling bounce back a little bit, but it's in the middle of nowhere. We've had a big week of data, no real clear indication of what the hell's going on over there. And the Aussie, like sort of the yen, they've got no oil, it falls. Aussie's got loads of commodities. Commodities have been going through the roof. So it's rallied somewhat and taken the Kiwi with it, right? But really, on the face of it, there's not a lot you can do there at the moment. We've got a new week starting next week, non-farm payrolls next Friday. But in the meantime, you just got to sort of, be patient and wait for opportunities. Global equity markets, this is the thing you got to understand. They all pretty much work the same, right? The US equities guide, the DAX, FTSE, everything's sort of the same here. There's been a bit of a recovery. To me, I don't like what's happening. I need to see a bit more information. Now that they've bounced, we're looking for the next sort of leg of data to really give us an idea of what's going on. When you come to cryptos, as I was saying, you got Bitcoin, Litecoin, and Ethereum sort of all moving on the hourly's top side, right? If anything, we're starting to see some good technical levels here as well to use, whether you're looking to go long or a break on the downside. To me, if you look at the dailies here down the bottom, they really haven't gone anywhere. Okay, so don't get overexcited and think we've got a new uptrend coming. There's a long way for them to go, but they are just coming back to levels that they were at previously, right? So more to watch there. If anything, short-term hourly trend lines may give us something to look at. Now, this is what I'm more interested in, right? And it's connecting the dots, right? Commodities have been a major focus. So when I'm looking at these instruments here, right? So his gold has started to slowly tweak to the top side. Now, as I said, I haven't really, I'm just zooming in there so you can sort of see this price action here. You get silver, which is topped out. Gold doesn't look like it's necessarily topped out like some of these other ones, but you've got copper, right? This is quite interesting for me. I'm looking at this going, well, and copper's a big driver of the Aussie historically, right? So it's a better indication of what's going on in the Aussie dollar than gold is, right? Which most people thought that was the big one. So you look at copper, it's broken down here. It's sort of topped out. You've got iron ore right at a support level there as well. And here's the light crude and Brent crude breaking down through levels, right? So down. I know we've sort of got a little bit of a top out there in silver. I mean, if gold starts to run, well, I tell you what, this could be the end of the Aussie dollar run, because the run here on the Aussie has been all about the commodities, right? So if the commodities are starting to turn, you've got to be careful, and it may be an opportunity to get into a trade. This is why you want to sort of start fiddling around with various sort of trend lines and see what's, if there's any sort of tangible levels you could be getting into, because if the commodities turn down, they've bounced a fair way. There's a lot of room for them to come back. And that would mean the Aussie dollar should get hit, or the commodity currencies, right? CAD, Aussie, Kiwi in particular, but out of them, and when you, so the commodity currencies, as I was just saying, CAD, Aussie, Kiwi, the commodity currencies, but which one has really moved the most? Well, we know dollar CAD has moved, and the Aussie, I wouldn't really be getting excited with the Kiwi because it hasn't actually broken through levels and gone, through the roof. Aussie dollar should be back at 72 cents. That's fair value. It's massively overdone on the dailies, as is the Kiwi. And as you'd expect, dollar CAD really oversold. So connecting the dots here, commodities giving us a lead into what is about to come up, right? Normal market conditions outside geopolitical events, this would be a really good setup to be looking for medium and longer term opportunities on some of those currencies that are impacted by these instruments. All right, so that's where we are at the moment. Now, just to give you a bit of a heads up, what's coming out Friday, March the 25th. As I said, you get more UK data, GfK consumer confidence numbers, okay, retail sales figures as well. The good ones there would be taking the fuel out of it, which they did years ago when around the global financial crisis. A lot of countries did. Have a look at that. The IFO business numbers may give us something. Really, a lot of the currencies are quite muted. So you're probably looking at maybe equity markets for potential opportunities. You're pending home sales out of the US, and well, you got some Michigan numbers there, and then you got a few Fed officials talking, right? It's the very end of, I know next week we got a few days before we kick into the new year, a new month, but this is the end of it, and it's quite interesting to see how this plays out. And if you want to get like enthused, right? This last month has been a bit chaotic with everything that's going on. You start to scroll down here. The US dollar is prime time, right? Next week, okay, coming into Tuesday, you've got a bunch of various releases there. And if I just scroll down, you'll see, GDP, loads of gasoline numbers, which will be important, obviously, oil, and then where are we? Down here, personal spending, PCE price index, really good inflation numbers Thursday, and that leads us into the non-farm payrolls come Friday, right? So next week, we're going to have a lot of direction potentially for the US dollar. That makes trading easier across the board, whether it's commodities, currencies. The geopolitical event, Russia, Ukraine, may be more to do with what's happening with the cryptos. Keep an eye on that. Obviously, oil is a major player at the moment. So as I was just showing you there before, oil is starting to break down, right? So just keep an eye on this. If you're a share trader, right, start to have a look at some of these companies, oil companies, because they are sort of, I mean, Chevron's up 41% for the year, right? So they got plenty of room to drop. If oil drops 10 or 15 bucks, these shares are going to get hit as well. These things are going down at the moment. So just keep an eye on that, because it's quite interesting. CAD yen would be something I would be suggesting you have a look at as well. Right. So coming into today's trading, as you come in through Asia and the European session, keep an eye on these US equity futures. Gives you a bit of a guide as to where the European equity markets will open, definitely the US markets. I don't see a major connection here at the moment with the risk on risk off profile with the currencies, but I do like to see, I'm liking the look of the commodity currencies. Obviously dollar yen as well. If we see oil fall, well, dollar yen should come back quite a bit as well, right? So keep an eye on that. Oil is the flavor just at the moment, and it's well worth getting yourself up the curve to try and work out what's going on, whether you're going to trade the commodity, a currency connected to it, or even the shares for that matter. Keep an eye on it. So to me, equity markets, they're now in the middle of nowhere. Price action's loose as a goose, so I'm not really looking at those. I think commodities going to next week is the key. If they start to fall, well, then the commodity currencies, the risk on risk off pairs should get hit, right? That's what we're looking for. All right, guys, that's it for me. It's one of those hectic months. It's like you just, like so much crap news you got to read. You're trying to keep up to speed with what's going on with Russia, Ukraine, oil, et cetera, et cetera. I tell you what, the news services will be happy that there's a new month as well. New data gives them plenty to focus on, and it's really the core fundamentals. So keep an eye out for them. All right, guys, have a good weekend and all the best for trading today. Cheerio.